Live from Southwest Florida's news source, Fox 40 News at 10.
In your corner, keeping an eye on the tropics and the tropical depression that's strengthening near the Florida Keys. Storm Shield forecaster Tony Sadiku has more on this storm and what impact we could see here in Southwest Florida. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Lisa. Rain. That is going to be the big word as we look ahead towards the coming days, and lots of it as showers and thunderstorms really going to ramp up. The rain chances, the rain coverage, and the timing. Usually we're used to afternoon showers and thunderstorms. I think as tropical depression on whatever form this thing becomes as we work ahead towards Monday, Tuesday. By the way, some models showing this thing strengthening into a tropical storm. We'll talk more about that. But the main impacts that we're looking for here in Southwest Florida are showers and thunderstorms, and some of them could be on the heavier side. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll be looking for their latest advisory coming up at 11. But right now, 35-mile-per-hour system really cruising along out there into the Gulf of Mexico, where it's expected to kind of meander and possibly strengthen even more. And then what it does from that point is what we're still going to be watching for in the coming days, as this thing could potentially make landfall in northern Florida. We'll be detailing that part of the forecast as well as what you can expect each and every day here across Southwest Florida. Your full 7-day forecast coming up. Lisa.
Terrifying moments for passengers when they lost the main engine on their plane midair. 4 in your corner's Katie Burgess talking to passengers who are now safely back on the ground.
It was pretty scary.
Frightening moments in the air. Passengers arriving at Orlando International Airport visibly relieved to have made it after Southwest Flight 3472 from New Orleans lost an engine mid-flight.
It was a loud, explosion, and then I had my 5-year-old sitting next to me. And so I looked out the window, there was a lot of smoke, and then I kind of held him more close to me, and I looked back and it was gone. I just saw metal flapping. Southwest
Airlines confirms there was a mechanical issue with the #1 engine just before 10 Saturday morning. The pilot was forced to divert the Orlando-bound jet to Pensacola, while passengers tell us the plane was smoking and dropped altitude very quickly.
Just thinking, how am I going to get these two safe? And it felt like half of the plane almost capsized.
Tammy Richards shared these photos with us after the flight landed and says the oxygen masks dropped and no one knew what to expect.
It was terrifying.
The pilots were able to land the plane safely. According to Southwest, none of the 99 passengers or 5 crew members were hurt during the rough ride.
I was crying, especially after all was said and done and hearing how it could have been way worse. So we're definitely grateful that we were so safe and watched over and we had good pilots.
Again, no one aboard the plane was injured during the rough ride. And covering the races you decide, early voting in Lee County wrapping up this weekend. 4 in your corner uncovered a ballot issue earlier in the week. The ballots were 1/8 of an inch too wide. It seems small, but it was just enough for the machines to reject the ballots. Officials fixed the problem, but if you weren't able to cast your vote, the Florida primary is this Tuesday. Tomorrow, Governor Rick Scott will be hosting a roundtable discussion with community leaders and business and tourism officials in Collier County regarding Zika. The Centers for Disease Control confirming more than a dozen travel-related Zika cases in Florida. This includes 1 in Collier County, bringing the number of cases in Southwest Florida to 15. The Zika Preparedness Roundtable will take place at the Collier County Health Department at 10 a.m. And traffic changes coming to the Cape. The city of Cape Coral will be installing an all-way stop at the intersection of Diplomat Parkway and Northeast 24th Avenue. This after a traffic study at the intersection showed the level of traffic warrants. Right now, the intersection is a 2-way stop for north and southbound traffic on Northeast 24th Avenue, but that's all changing soon. There will be digital boards placed at the intersection for 2 weeks to let drivers know of the change, and after that, the new stop signs will be installed. Well, it's been more than 3 years since a Fort Myers woman was found dead in her bathroom under extremely suspicious circumstances. All clues point to a man who mysteriously disappeared right after her death. Trish Rout with Crime Stoppers has this story.
A mother, a daughter, and a dear friend to many is alive and healthy one day and mysteriously deceased amidst a trail of suspicious actions less than 2 weeks later. And while it's unknown how Laura Howard died in April 2013, all clues point in one direction. Robert Keene, a man who duped Laura into believing that he was someone he was not.
Told Laura he's from Canada and was here illegally. and struck up a friendship with her.
But after a short time of dating, some red flags went up with Laura's friends about the man who was introduced to them as Simon Storm.
We conducted numerous interviews with Laura's friends, and each one of them said they got a hinky feeling about Simon, that he wasn't exactly who he said he was.
The last day Laura was seen alive, she had been swimming with a neighbor, and nothing seemed askew. The following day, Simon brokered a deal to sell Laura's TV set to a neighbor for $400. But when the neighbor wanted to call Laura to say thank you, she got an abrupt response.
Simon told her, no, don't call her, she's in bed sick, and she wouldn't be answering any calls.
Shortly after the sale, Simon took off in Laura's car, which turned up on Florida's East Coast on May 3rd, the same day her body was found decomposed in her bathroom tub. Fast forward a month to Margate, Florida, where Simon had become roommates with several middle-aged women. And once again, that cloak of suspicion surrounded him.
One of these women got the same feeling that something was just off about Simon, and her brother confronted him and asked to see some ID.
Simon agreed to the request, but when he went upstairs to get his ID, he instead jumped out the window and ran, never to be seen again and leaving everything he had behind.
Phones, clothing, and interestingly enough, some of Laura Howard's personal effects, to include her driver's license, marriage license, and passport.
The problem at this point is finding Simon Storm, who actually isn't Simon Storm at all. His real name is Richard Keene, and chances are he's found another unsuspecting victim living off their money and leaving them with no knowledge of his violent past. Keene is a former member of the military, dishonorably discharged, with an extensive criminal record. He's got a long list of aliases, but the one thing that has remained constant is his M.O.
He tries to prey upon middle-aged women, try to gain their confidence and use them for whatever what advantage he can get from them.
Which is most likely what happened to Laura Howard.
Whatever name he's using at the time, know that that's not him. His real name is Robert Keene. He's a felon. He's a dangerous person. At one point, lived by himself in a storage unit, that he was that self-sufficient and worried about going back to jail. In fact, he told his dad he will not go back to jail.
But until the day he's found, questions regarding any involvement in Laura Howard's death will remain unanswered. But detectives and family members are holding on to hope that someday, sooner than later, he'll resurface and have to explain his bizarre behavior.
The last thing we want is for another potential victim to be tricked or duped by this guy posing as an imposter.
For Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers, I'm Trish Rout.
And anyone with information on the whereabouts of Robert Keene, also known as Simon Storm, is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-800-780-TIPS. You will remain anonymous and could even get a cash reward. Well, it's been more than 2 months since the devastating shooting at an Orlando nightclub. And in that time, more than $23 million has been raised for the victims. That may seem like a big number, but experts say the donations won't be enough to completely offset the expenses the victims are facing after the mass shooting. One researcher says the funds raised by One Orlando won't be enough to cover the medical bills, long-term care, and lost wages for each person injured. And the fate of this Florida State football coach up in the air tonight after he was arrested for DUI and property damage early Saturday morning. The university issued a statement confirming it's aware of Victor Valoria's arrest and has started gathering information. The head coach of strength and conditioning is out of jail on bond, but it's unclear if he was at yesterday's practice. FSU starts their season September 5th. And tonight we're learning more about the death of NBA star DWade's cousin. Brothers Darwin and Darren Sorrells were charged in the murder of Nakia Aldridge. Police say Aldridge was walking down the street when two men approached another man and opened fire. Wade's cousin, who was nearby, suffered from blows to the head and the arm. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators say she was an innocent bystander and not the intended target here. Family and friends continue to mourn the loss of the mother of four.
It's just devastating. Nakia, just to think that she's taken her children to school to register, it's as Dwayne said, it's just senseless.
Now police say an argument with an Uber driver escalated, leading to this shooting. And a Mississippi man is behind bars tonight after detectives say he stabbed two nuns to death. Police arresting 46-year-old Rodney Earl Sanders for the death of two Catholic nuns and nurse practitioners who were found stabbed to death in their rural Mississippi home on Thursday. Police say he was identified early in the investigation as a person of interest, and after what they call an exhaustive interview, he was charged.
Sad that people come to this, whatever motivates them. I mean, you know, my aunt and sister Margaret, they live their lives to try to make the world better for the people who have nothing.
Authorities have not revealed a motive for the killings or discussed any possible relationship between Sanders and the nuns. He's facing 2 counts of capital murder. And police in Oklahoma had to use pepper spray on an 84-year-old woman. It happened as they were arresting her son at a home in Muskogee last week. Eddie Randall bringing you the newly released body cam video of this incident.
Turn around and face that way now, or I'll spray you.
An 84-year-old woman pepper sprayed by a Muskogee police officer is what has many people around town talking. Police say this all started while they searched for the woman's son. Police say he ran a stop sign, then refused to stop, then darted into this home. Police say they asked the man to come out, but he refused, so they went in. You can hear police yell for the man to come towards them before they tase him.
Come here, I'm gonna tase you. Do it now.
Then out comes his 84-year-old mother, Geneva Smith, who police command to turn around.
Stay there, ma'am.
We counted, and about 40 seconds after the command, they pepper sprayed her, and then she goes down. We talked to her last week, and on Friday we reviewed the video with the assistant city attorney and sat down with the chief of police, Rex Eskridge, who says the department is working to resolve the situation.
This is a very important issue. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of prejudgment going on. There's a lot of concern.
For that reason, he tells me they released the video to be transparent by building on the positive relationship he says police have with the community.
Do you believe the videos show everything?
Videos can't give you the full sense of what happened, but at the same time, they do either validate or expose any warts that you might have.
And the elderly woman says she had a panic attack in jail after the incident. She now plans to take legal action against the police department. Police are still investigating and interviewing the officers before they decide what's next. And are you getting ready for your work week? I know mine's already started. Well, you are preparing to work 40 hours. Some employees are preparing for only 30. We're telling you what company is trying this out. Plus, pump the brakes, the warning about your car's automatic braking system. But first,
I was crying on the phone to my parents and crying to Highway Patrol.
stranded after a strike. What this woman did after lightning hit her car. That's next on Fox 4 News at 10. Tony?
Lisa, you'll want to keep the ranger close as showers and thunderstorms move through our area, courtesy of Tropical Depression 9. Breaking down your full forecast coming up.